Welcome to another edition of the College Basketball Net Profit Show. It is Monday, November 28th. Ian Cameron, Conor Mack with you, ready to break down another college basketball slate. Right from the NBA pub up, right to the college hoops hardwood now as we break down a Monday card. Very light Monday card. This is actually looking like the kind of Monday slate we're going to see a lot in January and February. A little lighter, not as many games on the board. We still have a couple of interesting matchups, including a couple games in the ACC Big Ten Challenge, which gets underway tonight. There's only a couple tonight. Most of them are going to be tomorrow and Wednesday. But we do have a couple in the ACC Big Ten Challenge, including our first game here in our marquee game segment of the show. We've got Minnesota taking on Virginia Tech. The Hokies, 12-point favorites here, 127 being the total in this game. Low total because you expect a pretty low-paced game. Virginia Tech, a solid enough offensive team, but also an underrated defensive team. They don't look to push pace. They've gone under the total in 3 straight games. Minnesota's been an under machine this year, 5-1 under the total in 6 games. So I certainly lean in that direction. I think Virginia Tech is certainly the better of these two teams. They haven't been without their share of struggles, though. Some of recent games they've played, Old Dominion, big favorites, barely won it. Penn State, they got a 61-59 win. They had a sizable lead, let it get away. They lose to Charleston as favorites. They struggle to get past Charleston Southern, 69-64 in their last game. I don't really love the idea of taking Minnesota in this matchup because they haven't faced anyone close to as good as Virginia Tech so far this year. And I think the best opponents on their schedule were DePaul. They got blown out. And then, of course, UNLV, they lose handily by 9. Really were not a threat to win that game at any point. So I definitely lean Virginia Tech, but I'm going to pump the brakes on laying 12 here in this spot because we've seen them struggle to cover these margins lately. What do you think here, Conor Mack?
Yeah, to me, this is Virginia Tech or pass. I just don't love the 12, but I think they win it here. I don't do tons of parlays, and this is a huge money line, but I think they win here. Minnesota's just been struggling to score, struggling to shoot everywhere. I was on the UNLV. Rebels took care of business, like you talked about early. I think they were like up 18 or something like that at half and won by 9. So, yeah, this is Vautech or nothing for me here. Vautech a little bit faster, Minnesota a little bit slower so far in this year. That's why we have a low total here. I'm not going to touch the total. I think you could just get over if Virginia Tech scores a lot, but still, I wouldn't go crazy with the total here. Just lay it with Virginia Tech if you had to, but it's a pass for me.
I'm shocked that they've had this many issues, Virginia Tech shooting the 3 ball early this season, but that has definitely been, that is definitely not what I expected. This has been a good perimeter shooting team under Mike Young, who came over from Wofford a few years ago to take over as head coach. And how I think he's a great coach, and I've been looking to always buy Virginia Tech since he came here. But yeah, they're definitely not shooting it as well as you like. But Minnesota, I don't trust their offense to work here against Virginia Tech, which is why I think even if Virginia Tech shooting is just marginally better than it's been, I think they could cover this number. But I'm not going to lay the 12. I'm just going to lean in that direction as well as with the under here in this one. All right, next up, we continue along. Nebraska, Omaha, Mississippi State. We've got the Bulldogs of Mississippi State, 24.5-point home favorites here, 128.5 the total. Obviously, they're laying a massive number in this game, and they've been a terrific team early in the season, Mississippi State. I've been impressed, 6-0. They've gotten the job done in impressive fashion. They beat, some decent opponents in that neutral court environment that they played just recently, beating Marquette and Utah in back-to-back games. I don't love the idea, Conor Mack, anytime a team is returning from a neutral court setting, of laying a number like this. And we're going to get into this with Arkansas as well in just a bit, where it's buyer beware in the spot like this. I mean, obviously, Mississippi State is the much better of these two teams. Nebraska, Omaha has their major issues right now at both ends of the floor, really. Their shooting numbers aren't good, and their defensive numbers are just absolutely atrocious so far. They're giving up 38% from three-point range, 46% from the field overall, but their own offense, I mean, they've been bad really at both ends of the court here, Nebraska, Omaha, so far this season, especially when you consider the fact that their schedule hasn't even been all that tough so far. I mean, Kansas, they got drilled. Nebraska, who's not even a great team, they got drilled. Iowa, they lose 100-64. They got absolutely destroyed in that game. I mean, when they've stepped up in class, it's been ugly for Omaha. I definitely don't love the situationals for Mississippi State in this kind of price range where they're being asked to win by 25 or more coming off a neutral court tournament. But at the same time, I don't think I've seen enough out of Omaha to trust them. So it's a game I'm staying off. What do you think here, C-Mac?
Yeah, me too. I mean, this is a ton, and I'm not a team that loves to lay with Mississippi State. They're just not a great scoring team, but great defense. This still is, I think this number is about right around here. It could be close. And with this total, they'll be able to score more. That's why, because would want an under here, obviously. Mississippi State playing anyone that's decent against them, this total would be way lower. Probably 120 or less, down to 115. But I still would go under. This could be like some of these games they played, whether it was Texas A&M Corpus Christi or Pine Bluff, 80-47, 63-44. They should score more than 63, so more like 80. So still I'd lean under in this spot. Man, Nebraska Omaha has not been good. You mentioned both sides of the floor. It's just been rough for this team. So yeah, I'm off as well, but I'd still lean under if I had to. Mississippi State's this real, I think, their defense.
Yeah, I think the under's worth a look. I mean, Chris Jans is a good coach, did a great job at New Mexico State. He's really always a great defensive team, New Mexico State in the WAC, all those years he coached there. He's bringing that here to Mississippi State, to Starkville. They've been a very good defensive team. And Nebraska Omaha, for years, they've been good offense, porous defense, play fast. Well, the defense still sucks, but the offense is much worse than it's been in the last few years. And they're also playing much slower than they have in the last few years. They've definitely decreased their tempo, and Chris Crutchfield has taken over as the coach at Omaha, and they're definitely playing a lot slower, more of a half court. So I think the under is the consideration. If I were to bet the total, I would definitely be looking under when it comes to this game. All right, Troy, Arkansas next up. Arkansas, 16-point home favorites, 139.5 being the total in this game. This is definitely a spot that would be concerning a little bit if you're going to lay big points with Arkansas. When you're coming back from Hawaii, being out there, obviously taking part in the Maui Invitational last week, and now you're playing. That's a huge time difference, right? It's not just the normal 3 hours going from West Coast to East Coast. It's 5 hours when you factor in travel from the island. So it's a really dubious spot here for Arkansas to be laying this kind of number against Troy. With Arkansas in this game. And then you factor in the way the Trojans have played this year, 6-1 start, and they have done it with a pretty good effort at both ends of the floor. They've already played, albeit, Florida State is obviously way down so far this year. They've been really rough to begin the year, but you go to Florida State, you beat them outright as 10-point dogs, 79-72. You're doing something right. There's a good enough shooting team, good enough scoring team. That is something that, you like to see. What you also like to see, obviously, too, with Troy is, a 1.4 assist to turnover margin, not bad at all when you look at that category. They don't turn the ball over as much as some teams do. That's important when you're playing Arkansas. I think you can make a case to grab the double digits with this dog here. This feels like a tough spot, a little bit of a, lethargic type of situation here for Arkansas coming back from the Hawaii experience against a Troy team that will play defense. Their defensive numbers have been pretty solid so far on the season coming into this game. Troy might be able to hang around a little bit. The money's come in on them, and I certainly am in agreement with that, looking at Troy plus the points. What do you think here, Conor?
Yeah, this game was tough for me. I went back and forth. You mentioned all those factors coming back, the time difference, the neutral floor not coming back here. Troy played well against Florida State. I don't know how great this team is. They lost to St. Thomas, beat Montana. They've kind of been up and down. So maybe I need a few more with them to get on there. I think there will be points here. I know Arkansas has a very good defense. I don't think Troy has that great of a defense. They held Merrimack down, but other than that, if step up here in competition, I kind of lean over. I just don't love it. So it was a pass for me.
Yeah, Scott Cross, the coach here. The one thing, too, about Troy that you ought to keep in mind is they really basically seal off the paint. They really make it harder to score inside. Arkansas sometimes is that their jump shooting, I was impressed. They were actually making way more jump shots than I thought. That Creighton game, which was back and forth.
They did well.
I'm like, where did this great proficient jump shooting and three-point shooting come from for Arkansas? Because that's always been an inconsistent part of their game the last couple of years. So, but if they have the shots falling, that's going to be tough for Troy. But again, Troy's going to force them to outside jumpers. Let's see if Arkansas is making them coming off a long flight back from Hawaii. So
exactly, it's hit and miss. You're right on there. 30% still from beyond the arc, not even 70% from the foul line. So, but way more athletic. Ricky Council, all these guys. Yeah, this should be a good one. I'd lean the points if I had to.
All right, we got Pitt and Northwestern, another ACC Big Ten Challenge matchup. Northwestern 7-point favorites, 129 being the total in this game. Northwestern off to a pretty solid start, 5-1 overall. They're also, though, unfortunately, kind of like that Arkansas spot we just talked about. They are also coming off a neutral court tournament at the Riviera Maya down in Mexico, where they lost to Auburn 43-42, and they beat up Liberty 66-52 in those two games. I don't love laying points with teams in this situation. I just don't. And when you look at the Pitt side of things, this team, they got drilled by Michigan. They got drilled by Western Michigan early in the season, but they competed very well against VCU. And you look at the last two games in particular, they've been able to put up big points. They've played better. They just recently got one of their key members of the starting five back, John Hughley, the fourth, and that has mattered. That has made a difference as well for Pitt, and they've really played better since he's been back. I think there are reasons and cases to take the points here with Pitt. I really do. I mean, I think with Northwestern coming off the travel to Mexico and back, this is, again, that same situation where it's, to me, buyer beware a little bit, laying points. And when you look at the Northwestern offense, it's still an offense that struggles to score against a lot of teams. They only got to 60 against Purdue Fort Wayne. I mean, that's not saying a lot. Obviously, when you play Liberty, it's going to be a low-paced game. Auburn shut them down. They only scored 42. The Northwestern offense is ranked in the 300s in field goal percentage, coming off a long trip from Mexico. You know what I mean? I think there's reasons to like Pitt here, potentially, as a road underdog. What do you think, Conor?
Yeah, maybe. We're going to see a little bit of a turnaround from Pitt. And, Northwestern was really good. Still, they're not been shooting it well. I think they can shoot it better here. This line opened 9.5. It's come down to 7. If they make their shots, I mean, they were horrible against Auburn. I mean, they even hung around in that game to go, 2 for 25 or something like that from 3. I can't remember exactly. It was not good. Yeah, too tough one. I just can't trust Pitt here. I'd take the points if I had to in this one. And nothing on the total. Slow team. Northwestern's been kind of early on. Pitt defense has been bad. Do they play here better? I'm not so sure. So I'm at it. You on mute?
Sorry, there we go. Nothing wrong ever with passing. Absolutely, especially on a shorter.
This card's
like this. Yeah,
it's rough looking card here.
It's a light card, and you're right. It's a dearth of opportunities compared to some other days. How about this one? An in-state battle here. Seattle and Washington. We've got the Huskies, 4.5, 5-point favorites here in this game against the Seattle Redhawks. The total in this one currently at 141, 141.5, pretty much across the board in this one. Interesting matchup here. Washington, UW playing a little bit better here in recent games. They were involved in a neutral court event as well in Anaheim over the weekend. One of those Phil Knight legacy things. There were a couple of those. Actually, that's something different. That was Portland. But they were in a neutral court environment in Anaheim recently. But again, the travel's negligible. You're in the same time zone. So this isn't the same thing as, say, Arkansas and Northwestern, where they're coming back from Arkansas from Hawaii and Northwestern from Mexico. I mean, that's not bad travel here. I kind of lean Washington here. I think they're playing better basketball. Now, Seattle's 5-0, but again, the schedule's come up light. They beat an improving Portland team, and other than that, the other wins were against lighter competition. They're now facing a Washington team that, when you look at who they've been up against here so far, they've played Fresno, solid team, a very impressive win against St. Mary's, 68-64 in overtime. St. Mary's have been just shutting everybody down, and for Washington to go and beat St. Mary's the way they did, I was very impressed with them at both ends of the floor in that game. Another thing that would concern me here for Seattle is overly reliant at times in perimeter shooting, and that is something that Washington has the potential to take away. And as you would expect, 2-3 zone, Washington team, good chance to take away a lot of that three-point shooting, and we have seen them do that. They're 23rd in terms of three-point defense. So if the three-point shot is not falling for Seattle, are they going to be able to get offense from other sources? That would be the concern for me here. I definitely think Washington in good form. You could also say a letdown for Washington after beating St. Mary's, but I don't think I buy that in this spot when you're playing a team inside your own state like this. So I did make a small bet here with Washington -4.5, -5. Connor, what do you think here with Seattle against Washington?
Yeah, this game should be good. There's been a few Seattle teams I think have been pretty good, and they've lost to Washington. It's just like big brother, little brother when they get together and haven't got it done. I was impressed by the St. Mary's win for Washington because I still have questions with this team. Keon Brooks is very good, the Kentucky transfer. They're tall, is Washington. So, but Seattle fills up the bucket. They're very good as well. Cameron Tyson's good, and they have other guys that can really score, and he might be one of the better players out there. So, man, this one was tough for me. This is one of these games here where it's like 8.5 sounds a lot better to 5 than me. I want to take Seattle. I just don't know. And then the flip side is Washington. If they play a game like that, like they did against St. Mary's, they'll cover here, like you just mentioned. So this one was just a back and forth for me. Tough to get on either side.
There's another
just put in the chat real quick. If they hit shots, Seattle's hitting shots. Yeah, they could be in this, but if they're not on, they could lose here.
And you got to rely on the numbers, and the numbers are that Washington's a great perimeter defense so far, and we just saw St. Mary's struggle to knock down anything essentially from beyond the arc in their victory over the Gales. So that should bode well potentially for Washington here tonight. Sam Houston State, Nevada. We've got Nevada 4.5-point favorites, 130 the total. I'm kind of tempted now by Sam Houston State the more this line climbs because Nevada is coming back from the Cayman Islands, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they played in the Cayman Islands in their last game, November 23rd against Akron, 62-58. Now they're trying to bounce back from that. That was also where they played Kansas State, and I suffered that very tough beat with Nevada plus the points. They lost in overtime by 9. So they're coming back from that Cayman Islands event. That's a negative spot, in my opinion. Sam Houston State, they've been on the road a while, too. They were at Utah. Then they were on neutral court. They beat up Northern Illinois 88-54. And then they went on the road against, or in that same neutral court environment, they beat South Dakota 80-49. They also had a nice win at Oklahoma, first game of the year, 52-51, outright, as 16.5-point dogs. The Bearcats. We'll see if they can maintain that here. They're 15-5-1 against the spread in their last 21 road games overall. I get it that Nevada's probably the better team. So initially, people betting them, seeing that, and betting the Wolfpack a bit, but now with this number being 4.5, with Nevada in that kind of negative travel spot coming off the Cayman Islands trip, I'm kind of leaning a little bit towards Sam Houston now at +4.5 in this game. And keep in mind, a couple of injuries right now for Nevada. KJ Himes missed the last 2 games due to a back injury, and Daniel Foster as well questionable for them. KJ Himes in particular, a guy that last year gave them some pretty good minutes off the bench. And then you look at the potential absence here of Foster as well, another solid bench player for Nevada. So it could be a little shorthanded in terms of their depth tonight against Sam Houston State. So I'm definitely looking more toward the Sam Houston side, especially then I see Bart Torvik's site. They've only got Nevada half-point favorite, 1-point favorite, and now they're 4.5. So definite line value being shown here toward Sam Houston State in this game. As far as the total goes, Sam Houston State's playing a lot slower. I want to point that out. Their tempo ratings, they've been known to play fast in years past. They're 270 this year in tempo. So it does feel that that's also reflected in this total because I guarantee you Sam Houston State versus Nevada last year would not have been a total in the 120s. I think I would still lean over, though, with Clark in the chat. I would still lean over the total because Nevada's going to push pace. They are at home. Sometimes the home team does dictate tempo. This is a good offensive team, once again, for Nevada. And while the defensive numbers look good for Sam Houston, they haven't played a ton of great offensive teams. But I think Sam Houston State should be able to score some points here as well in this game when you factor in the fact that their offense here has been pretty balanced this year in terms of 2-point and 3-point shooting. I think you're going to end up seeing them be able to get some points as well. And keep in mind, they're a very good offensive rebounding team. They might get second, third chance looks against Nevada, a little bit of a below average defensive rebounding team coming into this game. So that second, third chance opportunity for Sam Houston could be there for them tonight. So right now I like the dog. I lean over the total as well. What do you think here, Conor? Sam Houston State, Nevada.
Yeah, this is one of the best games I thought on the board. I get maybe initially you want to move with Nevada. Man, Sam, you were through it though. They've been really good on the road, even dating back to last year, beating Oklahoma, had them against Utah, and winning by 10. The defense has been huge, and their slow tempo. Another thing with Nevada, they haven't played quick. They had that OT game. I remember you were on with Kansas State, but they played Grand Canyon. They've had a few other games that have been, man, low scoring in the 50s. So I think they can hang around. I wish it was more. I lean to the under here a little bit more. If Sam Houston wants to be in this game, I think they got to slow it down and stay under this total. So I lean under, and I kind of lean Sam Houston. One thing with Reno, Nevada, I always call them Reno. They've been very good at home and very good against the number here the last while. So tough one, but I'd still lean under.
All right, final game for the marquee game segment here of the show. It is a matchup here between Texas Southern and Nevada. Next up, or Texas Southern and Kansas, I should say. Kansas here currently 25-point favorites, 141.5 the total in this game. This is another spot where I'm tempted to take something on Texas Southern here. It's a lot of points in this situation. Kansas is coming off NC State, Wisconsin, and Tennessee. Playing those three squads in their last three games, also on a neutral court environment. How will they handle that here in this one? Again, this is Atlantic Paradise Island, Bahamas. Imperial Arena is where they played. You're coming back to Lawrence, Kansas, and you don't have as much of a turnaround from that as some of these other teams. They wrapped up Friday, and now you're turning around and you're playing Monday. And then after this game against Texas Southern, you've got Seton Hall, Missouri, and Indiana coming up next. I mean, all bigger opponents than this game. I think by default, I have to take the points. I have to. It's not like it's a ringing endorsement of Texas Southern here, who have played, obviously, a schedule that's dubious. They did beat Arizona State 67-66 as 11-point dogs. But other than that, it's been pretty rough. I mean, they got drilled by Texas Tech by 24, drilled by Oral Roberts by 18. Houston just annihilated them, 83-48, 35-point loss there, 16-point loss at Auburn, 15-point loss in their last game against Samford. They're not offering up a lot of evidence that they can hang and stay relatively competitive with Kansas. I get that, but for Kansas, it's the ultimate brutal spot. I mean, off the Bahamas trip, in that tournament, playing big teams, coming home, sleepy Monday night environment, and you got Seton Hall and some other big games on tap. I'm going to do it. Hold your nose, take the points. That's what I'm going to do. What do you think, your con?
That'd be it, because this Texas Southern team can't score. I mean, they just had going droughts that are awful. And for a team like Oral Roberts, they only score 64, and some of these other ones you mentioned, that game with Arizona State was Arizona State shot it bad and they were in it. I think this game's similar to the Texas Tech, probably like 78-54, tight game. And you mentioned it. Is Kansas going to be, it seems like 16-point win or the 30-point win? I'm not going to lay it. This game's passed for me. I mean, if you like Kansas, maybe look at their team total. This is one I don't want to be involved with.
Nothing wrong with that. All right, that is it. About it. Conor, it's a very short card. So I'm sure your list of games we haven't already talked about is very short on this Monday, but is there anything we didn't talk about that you want to mention?
Yeah, one I want to mention here. You know what? I'm lean this way. I saw someone in the chat, I forget who it was, like Marist. I like the other way. I don't think Marist should be laying points to anybody, especially not 7. I'd go the other way. That was only the only other game I thought we should talk about. I take the 7 with Columbia.
Bart Torvik indicates, again, a site that I trust, Marist should only be a 3-point favorite in that game. So there is some agreement in terms of where this line's gone to. Columbia out of it's a pace war. Marist is going to slow it down Marist is a pretty good defensive team. Can scuffle a little bit offensively, and Columbia is going to try to speed them up, but Columbia horrible defensively. So what's going to win out here in this game is going to ultimately be the question. But Columbia's going to push pace, look to score. So I personally like Marist. I'm not betting against Marist, but I'm also not laying 7. It does feel like it's a few too many in my mind, so I'm not involved in that game. I'm actually not involved in many games outside of what we've already talked about. I don't have a strong take on Pacific Cal Poly. Pacific's not playing as well the last couple games, but I still think they could handle business there back home
I think
against
over.
Cal Poly.
That was one other game. If I had to, I'd take the over in that Pacific game if I had to.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good offensive team, in my opinion. I think the over is probably worth a look. They play fast, 56 pace team in the country, better offensively than they are defensively. Cal Poly will look to slow it down a little bit. They play slow, but again, Pacific on their home court, I think they've got the chance to dictate terms. Again, Leonard Perry's team looking to push pace for Pacific. I think I would lean at Pacific and the over there. Lukewarm opinions, and that's about it. I mean, I really have nothing else for you. I'm kind of interested in Longwood +4, the Lancers against San Diego, the Toreros. Kind of interested in them. I mean, I don't obviously on the road this year. They've played 2 games and they didn't fare well. But again, Alabama and George Mason, pretty good basketball teams, both of them. San Diego, not quite on that caliber. They've not played as well the last couple of games. Utah State, New Mexico State, Nicholls State losing those games and returning home with just one day in between from, a neutral court tournament in Las Vegas. Who knows what they did while they were there? Did they party, San Diego Torero kids? Who knows? I mean, it's just not a spot I'm enthused about San Diego. I'd lean Longwood Lancers there +4 in that game. That's about it. There you go. Short card. We'll wrap things up. Shorter show today. Hit the like button. Oh, so we got someone in the chat asking about UMD Louisville. Clark Townsend in the chat in that one with that game. Let me just see here. Which game is it? UMD. I'm trying to find it here. McNeese State, Tennessee Martin. I lean McNeese State. Someone did mention that. I do agree that they're worth a look. I think they're McNeese State plus the points, but again, not overly strong on it. Yeah, I'm trying to see UMD Louisville. Oh, that's tomorrow. I'll save that for tomorrow, Clark. We'll definitely talk about that game. I was going to say Louisville's not playing. They're playing tomorrow. Yeah, Maryland, Louisville. That's tomorrow on the Tuesday slate. We'll hit that tomorrow, Clark. So it's a reason for you to be back here tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern. We will definitely talk about that. Will definitely be one of the marquee games that we'll talk about on the Tuesday show. All right. That's again, short card. We'll wrap things up in a second. Hit the like button on the way out. We appreciate it. Best bets coming up after we hear from Manscaped and Southtown 101. All right, Southtown 101. When you're in San Antonio, Texas, stop in. Great food, drinks, live music, DJs, karaoke. Southtown 101. Manscaped.com. Promo code PubSports. 20% off your purchase. Lawnmower 4.0 or any Manscaped product. Get 20% off your purchase using promo code PubSports. I'll be honest. There's someone mentioning in the chat just before we get to best bets. Incarnate Word. I'm not laying points with UTSA. I'm not enamored with what I've seen. I love the football team. I don't like the way the basketball team has necessarily played, especially the last couple of games. Favorites against Grambling, they lose by 20. Favorites against Dartmouth at home, no less, and they end up losing in overtime. I mean, I think it's Incarnate Word or pass, but Incarnate Word's been rough on the road, so. I'm out.
I feel the same. Like, it's crazy to say. Like, I want 10, but I can't. Yeah, I'd be on Incarnate Word if I had to.
Yeah, I definitely lean Road Dog for both of us. All right, best bets for this Monday slate. Connor Mack, what do you like for best bet?
This was tough for me to get a best bet, but this is the only game I bet on. I'm going to have some on the side. It's the under. I'm on the under. Nevada, Sam Houston, under 129.5.
All right, there we go, Sam. Houston State, Nevada, under 129.5. Best bet for Conor Mack. My best bet for this card, I'm going to go with Troy Trojans here, plus the points against Arkansas. This has been a team that I think, from an underdog standpoint, can be scrappy, feisty. You're going to seal off the inside offense and force Arkansas into more jump shots. And I think when you factor in the spot coming off the Hawaii trip, will Arkansas's shots be falling tonight in this game? Plus, the lethargic nature of you're coming off that big Hawaii trip, and now you got to muster up some kind of solid performance here to not only win, but win by margin against a feisty Troy team. It might not be easy here for Arkansas tonight. I think it's a more competitive game than the point spread indicates. We'll go with the Troy Trojans plus 16 against Arkansas for my best bet here for this Monday college basketball card. And that'll wrap up this edition of the College Basketball Net Profit Show. Thanks to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. I'm going to get some rest. I need it because I'm back in 2.5 hours. And so is Conor Mack with the NFL Live Bet Stream tonight. Pittsburgh Steelers, Indianapolis Colts. Make sure you join us for that. I'll be on for the first half. Looking forward to that. We'll see if we can make some money with the Monday Nighter tonight. Good stuff for Conor Mack. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Monday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. We'll see you in a little bit later on tonight for the NFL Live Bet Stream right here on Pub Sports Radio.